Hello. Today we're gonna make a painting by Marc Chagall, the bridal pair with the Eiffel Tower. This painting has lots of different details. Don't ask me about the symbolic meaning of all those animals, like cow or the goat there. This is more something for you to study by yourself regarding Chagall's artworks. But we're going to view this artwork and then I'm going to show you the steps how you could replicate it. So we also study some different techniques and ways how to do the painting. Since the painting is very detailed, the mediums I'm choosing today is gouache, and you see a pretty much simple 12 color set. I will use gouache to make like a base color. And here I have watercolor markers. So then I can use them for some detailing. I like them very much because you can go just as the line, or you can blend them out. Like for example, here where the heel is. Yeah, I'll show you in process. And yeah. So first, of course, what we are doing, we're gonna put the drawing on our paper. And here what you need to focus, of course, is proportions, where everything is positioned. Of course, makes sense to start with our couple, the huge chicken that is here. Trust me, I have no idea what it means. But it's good also to give your own meaning to artist paintings, because you're not obliged to know what Chagall meant by it, but you can have your own interpretation. Why not? So when we are putting the drawing on the paper, so it's very good to just check and tell to yourself how big is something, like also to look the spaces that are left. Let's say, okay, we see, of course, the figure, the chicken, they're taking a bigger space in the diagonal position. And then I can say, aha, here at the bottom, I have this kind of space left. At the top, a bit more squarey than the lines of the Eiffel Tower. So this is what we're gonna do. Yeah, so then I say, okay, let's say chicken and the couple, they take 2/3 of the page. So I'm gonna mark more or less. So this space is left for the top, where the musician is. Yeah, and then it's also comfortable to take the corner and then I say, okay, the legs of the groom are going from this side of the page. And here, very important, not to do the details too soon. So it's important to do just the main directions. Then I see, the dress of the bride is already the lines. I would finish more like to the bottom of the page. Yeah, this corner of the dress is almost touching the bottom of the paper. So purely geometrically, I'm evaluating where everything is situated. Yeah, so this would be the first step. And of course, our aim is not to copy it perfectly one-to-one. We're not trying to create, I don't know, a fake sellable copy or something. We are here just to learn, to experiment with paints, with colors, and of course, just feel a bit more how famous art was created. Here I have the part of the chicken. Of course, you can also use apps for transferring an image. Yeah, it can make your work a bit faster, and I use them when my purpose is not to train the proportion skills, but it's more about maybe I'm working more about the colors. Then it's also fine that you just transfer the drawing in this way. But of course, it's always very good if you have time. You just do it by yourself like this. You train your artistic eye. And then each time you need to draw something, you can do it more quickly, more precisely. And because those apps, you can get, let's say, addicted to them in a way that later you won't be able to draw something without transferring it from app. No? So I'm drawing the main heroes, the chicken. So then take into account the proportions. For example, here, it is important that the town, here those all little tiny houses at the bottom, they are pretty much, they're very small. Yeah, so you can even, let's say first, you did those, and then you just kind of limit yourself and say, okay, here is the tallest part will be here, all the rest of the houses will be here. Yeah, so it's not that, because if you start with one house and then go up, it might scale unwillingly, and then you don't get this feeling of the couple kind of floating. Because I think that's exactly that the city here is showed so tiny, then we get a feeling of couple. Yeah, it's also more or less very popular way Chagall used in his paintings. Yeah, cool. Then here we have all those bushes. I'm just gonna mark the outside line. I'm not gonna draw each leaf here now. Here we have some wings. Yeah, I like them, so I'm gonna draw them. And here is some red head working. What else? The chicken has also the violin player is here. Yeah. Don't worry about making a hand of Bella. Like always with those tiny details, it's better to leave them untouched, like empty. Yeah, I mean, unless you're going with a drawing that is very detailed. But at this stage, it's always good to keep it just like leave the space, and it's always going to look much better rather than you're trying to do all the fingers there perfectly, and then this place is like looks already tired because you've been erasing a lot, and so leaving sketchy, unpainted, undrawn, you can show that it looks better. Okay, then for example, I check, okay, this hill where they got married, just I put the horizontal line from the hill. Okay, somewhere where the shoulder is. Nice. So it ends somewhere here. Not the hill. Then the orange part of the house. And again, the couple. Another person here. Yeah, it's already maybe too detailed. Maybe it's something that you can already think doing just later directly with the paint part. Okay, the Eiffel Tower. So we see it's going out from the broom's head. And it's kind of splits also with the drawing. Then the other leg goes into the house. It can also be considered maybe some way, you know, for Chagall made this, because all the diagonal lines, all lines that are a bit like moving, they bring us as a viewer to see where he wants to. And also this arch, yeah, it all gets to the heads. And I suggest it's on purpose. This is compositional trick. Yeah, because if this would be going to the shoulder, let's say, it's not that interesting. The heads is the interesting part. So it's been used, you know, like to guide our view. Okay, here is the sun. Okay, actually the sun there has a bit of outline, but I like, when I draw the sun, I usually don't even go with a pencil because I prefer to leave it clean. Yeah, and so just kind of leaving the space there and going straightly with the brush, I would say will be definitely much, much better. Here another musician. Okay, then there is also one lady. Well, I think I'll skip her. Okay, the legs as well. Here a bit. I think Chagall's paintings are that interesting and popular because they unite realistic and fantastical elements. So in general, of course, you recognize this is chicken, but somehow it's a hugely different size. You say a cow, but it's floating in the sky. So this is a dreamlike feeling, as if, yeah, we see it all in a dream. And with this, he creates really interesting connections, as I mentioned, like making tiny part of the town, makes the feeling that they're floating, and also this diagonal position, yeah, makes them a feeling that they fly. So I think we can really a lot look, analyze Chagall's paintings, but I think mostly it's just the feeling of it, like a fairy tale. And nice. I would say my pencil sketch is ready, and I would say that's enough for what we're doing today. So the next step we're gonna put base colors. But before this, what I also like to do, especially in such colorful paintings as this one, is I'm using my phone, and I transfer this color painting to black and white. So here, the same one in black and white. And what it gives to me, that now I can see the tonalities. So tone is very important. And tone means how dark or light is something. So let's go back to the colorful. Yeah. Let's say we see the Eiffel Tower, it's blue. We see the costume of groom, yeah, it's kind of reddish purple. But it's important so not to put these colors too light, because if you go back black and white, you definitely see, wow, these are dark spots. And this is what something makes the darkest and the lightest together. So the bride's dress is the lightest. Even the chicken is already a bit more light. So this is good just to do it priorly, and just you look at it and you tell to yourself, okay, what's the darkest point? What's the lightest point? Where are the accents? What are the main parts? Yeah, so the main contrast, of course, is here in front, the bride and groom, but the Eiffel Tower also kind of dividing the picture and brings this verticality, these lines. Yeah? When I work with colors, one of the technique that I like to use is bringing first a very light watery layer. So let's say I'm going to do a very light blue color here for the background. And then, of course, it's easy to make those darker spots. Yeah? And the same I'm going to do. So here I'm going to have the sun. It looks a bit like could be an egg. Yeah, and then maybe we have the So for example, for the tree, I'm gonna do say a greenish background and then the black lines on top to have the feeling of, or maybe even I'm gonna do this part where the grass is with markers. No? Okay, let's start. So first, what I do, so anyway, also I think this will be too bluish, like the tone, yeah. So I'm gonna take this dark Russian blue, and then I'm just gonna take much more white, because this one would be too like sky blue, you know, too light. And also why today I have chosen to work with gouache. So since I'm taking also these watercolor markers as my second medium, the main difference between gouache and acrylics, that gouache, when they're dry, they become, the surface is more like matte, also becomes a bit more pale, and it's easy to draw on top of the gouache. Acrylics, when they dry, they kind of have this plastic layer. And that is very good because it protects your painting. It lasts longer. Gouache painting will always have some possibility that if water goes there, it can be damaged. Yeah, so here, much more white, a tiny bit of this dark blue. And I'm gonna go for my base color of the, even could be even lighter. And remember, there is another way to make it lighter. It's water. Yeah, so one is white paint. The other way is water. And also, if you're quick enough, if you say, okay, that's a bit too dark, you can always use paper towel and just take off some paint. Yeah, but this one should be done like directly, quickly, especially with acrylics. Acrylics drying really fast. Gouache is also drying fast, but gouache, as we've just explained, even when it's dry, it can be again alterated with water. So you put some water and it reacts. This is why, like, let's say, mistakes in gouache sometimes is a bit maybe easier to correct. But as usual, like all materials, they have their pros and contras. And here also, you don't need really to be super careful, because you see this background is pretty much fluffy with the feeling of clouds. So you don't need to be try to color it perfectly even. Yeah, here I've colored also the wings. And if then I find them too blue, you can always go also straight with white on top, make it lighter. But generally, remember, any mistakes you want to correct is always better done when it's dry. So have patience if you need to correct something. And yeah. I think I'm gonna try to move to these darker spots on the sky. So just using the same blue, it's not perfectly matching the blue of Chagall. The Chagall's blue is a bit more purple. Okay, let's check if we can maybe correct it and add a bit of. So I'm taking red and just adding a bit of red into blue. Let's see. You see, looks much better. Now, here already you need to be more kind of maybe use of you see the use of paper towel is very, very practical. So I'm using the same mix, this blue with a bit of red. I'm getting purple. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna color the Eiffel Tower. And you see here, I'm kind of even on purpose doing those strokes in different directions. And here, of course, it's good to not have to have it too watery. Now I had a bit too much water. I can always like take off a little water from my brush. And later we're gonna add a bit more dark parts there. Also, here I did this curvy line, but now I'm trying to break it so it doesn't stay. Yeah, and also like these long lines along the Eiffel Tower. It's just because it's easier to draw like this, but I do it, but then I pretend I did it the other way. Nice. Okay. What else? And I can use actually the same red here, but now more red, less blue. And I'm gonna have the color of the groom's dress. Yeah. And remember, so this technique considers that first you go with light, let's say like as a base, and then you just color everything with this base color. And then later you go and bring the darker spots on top. And here again, you see, have a bit of this technique, the fluffiness. Just move differently your brush. Remember, like you can on purpose turn your head differently, and you'll be getting a different brush strokes. Yeah, because of course, usually we hold the brush the way it's comfortable, but then we're getting the same strokes. So it's also when you paint maybe the grass, then it's good to have it differently than you have, or the leaves on the trees, definitely. Yeah, so they don't all look one side. I have the nice. So we are moving. Okay, let's go for the other parts. Change the brush if you need for smaller. How to choose the brush? I basically choose according to the size. Yeah, so it's just comfortable for you to draw. And here again, I'm putting kind of very intense red. Yeah, and again, it can be a base red. Later, I can add a bit more of these darker drops there. So we can do the sun. Yeah, I'm jumping a bit around the painting. I'm being followed now just by like colors that I have on my brush. So since I had red, I added now a bit of yellow to do this orangey circle. And again, you see it's a bit watery. So probably later when it's dry, I will do the second layer. Yeah. But don't fight. Once it's wet, like you can go a lot to correct it, but it won't work. Just let it dry, give it with acrylics very fast, with a thin layer of gouache as well. Yeah, so it's oils that are drying slowly. But, now I'm gonna move to yellow. Be sure you wash your brush well, or you take another new brush. I can use also paper towel to clean, because then you have usually where the metallic part, you have some paint stuck there. Yeah, especially when you move from darker to lighter colors, and you want it to be clean. So here I'm doing the sun, and here you see, so I didn't have this pencil line, and it looks much more sunshinier. Careful with the blue. You remember blue and yellow gives us green. So you don't really want to have green in the sky. And a part just of the circle, it has also a bit of shiny lines. And those ones actually, also in the painting of Chagall, it has a bit of greenish, just because it was that mix. Yeah. So here we can also get darker. Okay. Look at also outside. Oh. Nice. Since I'm with this yellowish, and you see I make it almost like a puddle here on my palette, so it's very watery. I can do a bit of chicken, yeah, especially with here this bottom part. So it's also definitely, yeah. And I'll be going back to almost all of the parts for the second time, and because again it's the just kind of the base tone, base color we are putting. And you see, for example, I've explained that the dress and Eiffel Tower are darker, so I will need to darken the costume quite a lot. Yeah. But this way is good to quickly get rid of the blue white areas of paper. Yeah, so you kind of do this quickly, and then you can already go for the second, third, more layers, but you already don't have this whiteness of the paper. Yeah. Yeah, and you see I'm kind of jumping a bit So I see, here is a bit also reddish color. The bottom. I'm gonna also put it here. I can also give a general feeling for the houses. And they're kind of a bit bluish, got to their roofs. A bit of, I think, more like ochre. Yeah. Okay, ochre is already more we're gonna use for like detailing, but still a little bit we can do. So the way I work here is a bit also one can say it's a bit like a puzzle. So I have one color and then I see where I need it. I can put, yeah, but then of course then I come back and I make them differently. Let's say now I made some spots here with the cow, but later I'm gonna do there also a bit darker areas. Cow has blue eye. Let's put here a blue eye. And we can make and we get stopped with our Skype dots. Let's come back to them. So the darker bluish strokes a bit too strong. Nothing. A bit more water and so this technique would work gouache and acrylics. It will not work for oil paints. Yeah, oil paints, they have totally different way of behaving, of working. So, and if you're a beginner oil paints, I would suggest taking just other topics, to paint. So maybe this is a bit too detailed, a bit too. Okay. I'm not sure what medium used Chagall to paint this one. You can check it later together. Yeah. Let's get a bit of brown to do the missing whitenesses. So I also like to mix. So let's say here the brown I have, it's very light. Yeah, it's very yellowishy. So what I do, I add a bit of blue to it. Then it becomes darker, but what's also interesting, good, it becomes a bit more pale. It's not so right. So remember, brown is good to add also to blue when you need, let's say you have a sea, but you don't want to make it too bright. Opposite, maybe it's a cloudy day. Just add brown to blue and also to green if you want, like your grass doesn't need to be like screamingly bright, but the opposite you are. Yeah, and here I'm using just like the blending part. So just with the water, with cleaner brush, and just using those darker parts that I've put, I kind of put them all out. There was some blue actually. You see, this is also the feeling why they're flying. Here under the legs of Chagall, we have blue. And this is something, for example, I haven't noticed from the start. And so this is why it's also sometimes in the learning purposes is good to copy some masterpieces, because you study it more deeply You don't just look at it, but you try to paint, and then you're like, wow, look at this and this. And you start finding out some interesting parts. To make also this texture feeling, it's good to use the dry brush technique. For example, now in this roof, so almost no water on the brush, and then the brush leaves those kind of strokes, and yeah, you can use it. Okay, let's go back and finish with this brownie part. So I'm jumping a lot around the painting. Sometimes it's like you jump and you forget the part you were doing. I would say there is no right and wrong. You just do the way you prefer. You can like start concentrating and doing it part by part. But I think generally it's good to have your painting going, you know, in equal manner. So all parts, they have this like base layer, and then we go with the second part for other layers. So the progress of the painting is simultaneously equal. Yeah, unless if I would take one part and work just on that. And then the rest is empty, but as I say, each painter finds own way to. Here I mixed brown with black, so I'm already taking a bit more darker here under the dress, because it's also going to give a bit of contrast, but also carefully. Now I have it kind of maybe even a bit too dark. I use my favorite paper towel to make it lighter. Maybe in the end it has to be so dark, but at this point I don't want this spot to start screaming out like, hey, I'm here, the main hero, but this is just a dark spot under the dress. So yeah, be careful also with this. This is what I call like screaming parts. And this is when we do something too bright or too light in comparison to others. So when we talk of tonality, tonality is always the comparison. Sorry. So the color is never alone. It's always, they're always in together with other things. And you need to always look it all together. So if I do something too dark, it's either means all the rest I also need to bring to this darkness level. Or for example, what we do here, I just did this tiny broom. The bride is white. I just go back to this color I had for the ground. And I just make a bit darker around. When I did these tiny parts, you see, I'm just kind of dotting the area and to give, so I'm not even like using brush and it's traditional movement, but just dotting vertically, and then I have more control to what's visible there. Yeah, so maybe I'll do the rest details with the bright. So here is your blue flowers. Okay, let's put a bit more attention to to the broom. Let's check his hair. And again, oh, you see too much water, too light, but it's okay. It means later I can come back and make it darker, but not everywhere. And then I will have this lighter part. Okay, the bride chick has a bit darker hair. And here already, actually, you could have moved. I could have moved to the markers, but somehow I still feel comfy with the brush. Let's continue with the brush. I'm just now already a bit scared that actually maybe I might do all the painting with the brush. But we see. You know, it's normal. You start thinking one thing, you finish differently. Doing thin lines with the brush. The brush needs to be more watery. Yeah, so with this dry brush technique, you will never do a long thin line because it will be too dry. Yeah, okay. Moving closer already to the kind of all the details. Doing still what I can with the brush, but then I'm sure we're gonna move already to that. So we have our greenish parts left. Again, when you work, let's say it's a very limited choice of colors. It's actually good to work with limited colors because it makes you grow green. So almost never use green just the way it is. Always try to mix it. This is a mistake that you can notice by the beginners. They use green just straight from the tube. And I'm talking about this classical green. So of course we can buy already pre-mixed greens that are maybe like olive color and the emerald. But if we're getting this neutral hue green, always mix it either with yellow or with blue or a bit of black. Yeah, but make it different. Don't leave it. So also, for example, I think actually those lines here in between the rest of the bride, it will be easier to make with the brush. So then I can make it a bit fluffy. Yeah, but just be careful and use quickly water. Yes, I'm just doing this tiny touch-ups. Here is the hand as well. Okay, we can do just the tone of the head and almost forgot about the groom. Here I mixed red, blue, and black. Yeah, so let's make the groom more darkish. So here I'm putting like spots, but then I'm gonna be like trying to be quick and do first all the spots all around the groom, and then I go back and with watery brush, just blend them out a bit. But it's because I have gouache. If I have acrylics, it's better to go like parts by parts. You do the arm, you blend it out, then you do the this like so, because otherwise it will be drying too fast, the acrylics. So you see here I've succeeded all those darker areas. Now I went with my brush to the water, made it kind of clean and watery, and just blend out the borders. Yeah, so then it's okay. So maybe also the skin of those two. The skin color generally is pink yellow and a bit of brown. Yeah, so then and I can add also white, and depending on whiteness. Yeah, but main thing is also a lot of water, so it's really just okay, I'm gonna do just first all the I'm also gonna do a bit more spots on the bird. Here with the bird is definitely use dry brush with the areas. All right, how it looks. Okay, the black areas. Okay, guys, sorry about markers. Probably they're not gonna come up today. So here I'm gonna, yeah, I think markers it would be then if I want to be a bit more detailed. But today let's take maybe just with that. And here I do just those shadow parts under the leaves. Also maybe a bit too black. I put them, and then with the magic of paper towel, I make this disappear. Yeah. Maybe and differently, yeah. So somewhere a bit like choosing the direction of the and later we can go and improve a bit more darker green on top. Yeah. Okay. Definitely to do a bit more darker green. Oh, too dark. I would think in all this painting, this bush is probably the hardest, but it's just because it has lots of details and then you just need to spend more time there. Yeah, so I'm not spending this time today, so I'm just, but still, you see with this, so maybe the aim of today, what I'm showing you is more like the quick way to do some things. So like here I did the bushes, more or less they look as they are. Could they look better? Yes, they could. But if I spend more time on it, yeah. And this is all a question of that. White wings, let's them show a bit more intense. And it's done just by getting a bit more dark around. And here's some. Yeah, and here you go, the wings are visible. Yeah, and here I remove the borders of those lines. So like I'm blending them out. Alrighty. Okay, the eyes are missing. Also the darkness of the. Okay, here I'm using now just black. And again, maybe with the. Yeah, okay, it was too dry. Here I put a bit more water. And okay. So so in conclusion, since we're already moving to almost to the end of our experimental way how to paint Chagall. So definitely Chagall is not about the painting technique in itself. It's more about this surrealistic image, the size, the position, the objects, all those kind of unusual things that brings this interest. Of course, I would say that I really enjoy the stained glass made by Chagall that he did already in the end of his life. That actually also interesting. He started doing it. So when he already was in the late age and I find it fascinating. Yeah, the colors. So I think it was also that after the Matisse, we know Henri Matisse, the French painter, as the godfather of the use of the color. And it was said that Chagall was the one after him who would really understand the importance, the meaning of the color. Yeah. Okay, let's try to do the always scary part of the eyes. Why it's scary? Because you need to match precisely the position and it's about millimeters that you can or cannot equivocate. I go here bravely to do just straight with the marker. Feel free to use the pencil first, of course, to mark better where. So probably this brown marker is the. Okay, a bit there. It's a cow playing. Is it a cow playing ballet? Probably. I don't know. Yeah, so of course, feel free to do as detailed as you want or as you have time. I'd say there are many, many parts that can be. Yeah, this can make you explore more actually about him, you know, when you start kind of really getting into details, maybe you explore this town that of course is a representation of his home village in Vitebsk. That I think till the end of his life he was still putting all his childhood things, the goats, the little town, incredible even in like in Paris, in those huge stained glass, no problem. He puts there what has meaning to him. Yeah, really, really nice. Be sure to make it also a bit darker, this village here, so it doesn't jump like too bright. Yeah, so it has some whiteness, but still it's more calm there. Maybe something here with Brian. Let's check. Well, a little bit. I think also the people who like Chagall's paintings, it's also because it reminds a bit like childhood. Maybe this is also something that brings interest in us. And here we can make with the brush better, a bit more darker the part of the neck, according to the, a bit too dark. Doesn't matter if you're too quick. You can make it just a bit. Yeah, it wasn't good. If you have watercolor markers, don't forget if you put a wet brush there, they react. Okay, better always have the feeling when to stop, isn't it? It's something that follows us always. Finish, continue to finish the moment. But I would say like the moment when you start feeling, okay, it's getting worse, then it's definitely a moment to stop. And then even maybe just try to correct, like to bring back some parts. Nice, nice, nice. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you got something new for you. Maybe the way to start the work, maybe the way to do some parts quickly. So feel free to share your results. I'll be happy to comment and give my opinions, suggestions. Alrighty. A little bit more darker with the hand. And this guy as well, we can't leave it white. So also be sure the whitest part is the bright. Yeah, this is also something in general we paint, and we sometimes have the too white, many pirates all around. So then just make it a bit more, you know, grayish, palish, something, but definitely not. Yeah, so the lightest area should be 1. And then okay. Let's evaluate. Take the tape off, the favorite moment. Ta-da! A quick drawing by Marc Chagall's Bridal pair. No, it was very interesting to, okay, maybe my eyes got too blurred because of the marker, but it's okay. Nice, hope you enjoyed. Let me know. And see you next time with the next artwork.